What's good, gamers? Aklon here. Welcome back to each and every one of you. In today's video, we're talking speculation. Now, I'm making this video very specifically because I was busy making another video, and then while making the other video, I realized, wait a second, there's a lot that goes into this video that needs to kind of be explained before this video would even make sense. So now I'm making this video, and then I'll make the other video, but yeah, that's besides the point. We're going to be talking about the very early years of the creation of the Great Beyond, of Azeroth, of the Titans, the Lies, everything that you can imagine, because the next video very specifically, and this is a little bit of a teaser, there was a period of the history of Azeroth that is completely unknown to us, that the Titans did not include, at least not explicitly. Now, that period may actually go a long way to explaining certain phenomena that we saw in the War Within trailer, that we saw within the zones of the War Within, and the build-up to the War Within that I think is going to become clear. So this is sort of like a speculation video, but also kind of a prediction video of stuff that may in fact happen. So, okay, let's start off right off the bat. Let's talk about Titan lies. At this point, if you've been a viewer of this channel for any period of time, you will know that the Titans lied a lot. And they lied about sometimes seemingly completely unimportant things that you can't really feel like they gained a lot through those lies. And then other times they actually did keep some pretty big bangers to themselves. Like, for example, the fact that there is such a realm as Azeroth Ordis, which, according to the Keeper Tyr and also the Keeper Odin, the mortals can absolutely not know about because we're too stupid to understand anything about that, and one must argue that it kind of ruins their plans if we know about something like Azeroth Ordis. But Azeroth Ordis is going to become important in the course of this video. No book is more clear about the lies of the Titans than the Chronicles. Originally marketed as the absolute word of God, Blizzard have since reneged on that statement and have instead decided to make the Chronicles a book that was written from a very particular perspective, i.e. the Titan perspective. This allowed Blizzard to have a lot more freedom in how they want to tell the story without being tied to what was then considered to be the quote-unquote word of God. So the Chronicles, even in some of the older stories, retconned a lot of things that we used to know about World of Warcraft, and then now a lot of things have been retconned again. For example, the Chronicles speak about the cosmological forces, and it speaks about the creation of said cosmological forces. Cosmological forces, that's the light, disorder, death, void, order, and life. These are the 6 forces. We have since found out quite a lot of things about these cosmological forces. Like, for example, that the cosmological forces can be further subdivided, and that's thanks to the brokers during the Shadowlands Azeroth Mortis campaigns, where we found out that actually, yes, there's 6 cosmological forces, but there's also 2 subcategories of those 6 cosmological forces, and these subcategories can broadly be viewed as the ordered or order infusing cosmological forces and the chaos infusing cosmological forces, or if we wanted to become a little bit more scientific, we would talk about the order and the chaos forces, or the entropy forces within the universe. The order forces is the light, order, or the Titans, and death. These 3 forces seek to enhance the amount of order that exists within the Great Beyond, within creation, on Azeroth, everywhere. And then we have life, disorder, or the demons, and the void, or the old gods. And these forces seek to increase the entropy of the Great Beyond and of creation and all the rest of it. Now, if Steve Denuser is to be believed, these 6 forces work in tandem against each other, but also with each other at times. So at various times, different alliances have been forged between these cosmological forces in order to, wall in certain things. Now, let's talk about the Chronicles explanation for where creation originally comes from. The Titans claim that it all started within an ocean of light, and that this ocean of light exploded outwards. And as it exploded, it left these pockets of energy that would eventually attract mass around them. These energy pockets would settle near stars for warmth. This would attract mass. Planets would build around this energy. And from within these energy pockets, the Titans themselves were born. Now, I've always had an interesting relationship with this explanation because, well, it seems a little weird because according to the Titans explanation, everything, including the Titans, come from the forces of light. Yet the Titans, according to their own book, serve the forces of order. So why would the ocean of light start the universe? And the Titans come from them, but the Titans don't serve them, even though we know that there is some kind of relationship between them and the Titans. Well, I think I've cracked it. Remember Azeroth Mortis? And remember the big deal that the developers made about the water that you can walk on? And all of us were confused. Why is this such a big deal? Water that you can walk on has been sort of a thing for a long time. You know, DKs and shamans were looking at Blizzard like, am I a joke to you? Like, I can walk on water. I've always been able to walk on water. So it was a massive sort of meme for quite a while. This ocean, this water that you can walk on. But let's go back to the Titans' assertion, shall we? It started as an ocean of light. Now, when you look at Azeroth Mortis, you look at the water there, and you, specifically before you run into Azeroth Mortis, if you were to explain what all of that water actually looks like, if you were to explain what that water actually represents, would an ocean of light not do it justice? I'm not saying that it would be the perfect explanation, but it would definitely do it justice. Because that is effectively what it looked like. It was light all around you, and you just had this water that you were running on. And even when you got into Azeroth Mortis, there were a lot of structures that were shiny and bright, and the light was clearly present within this realm. Not the forces of light, but light in general was present within this realm. And you had the brokers running around. Now, we don't know what Azeroth Orders looks like, but what if that is what the Titans were asserting? That life, not all life, because remember, the Titans have this weird relationship with creation, wherein they believe that they created everything because nothing can be created unless it has been ordered first. So they claim that they are the reason for all of creation. So what if that ocean of light is actually Azeroth Orders? And it was Azeroth Orders that spat their energies out into the great beyond and planted them within these planets, much like the old gods did with their, or the Void Lords did with their old gods, spewing their essence out into the great beyond in order to land on these planets and start to grow and start to corrupt. In the next video, we're going to talk about how the light did something very, very similar. But for now, if that is the explanation, a lot of things, I think, become a lot more interesting. The Titans speak of this giant war between the light and the void, where they clashed. They oftentimes brought great destruction to the areas that they were working in, but also their classes ultimately created the twisting nether that we know today, where the demons obviously dwell. That is according to the Titans. Now, let's go back to Azeroth Mortis, because we don't know what Azeroth Orders looks like, but we do know what Azeroth Mortis looks like. We were there. For some happily, for others against their will, but they were still there. It is said, and there's a lot of lore around this, or not a lot of lore, but there's hints dropped all over the place, that the water hides something incredibly dark underneath. We, of course, can't go into the water because of there's some kind of darkness that exists underneath this water. This is sadly never further explored in the lore, and I do think a big part of why it wasn't explored in the lore is because Blizzard sort of gave up on Shadowlands, as they realized that people weren't enjoying it and people weren't having fun, they just decided, look, we have this in the lore. This is something that we can certainly explore later in the future of WoW. For now, we'll leave this up to the speculators, let them speculate on what that is. And we did. We did make speculation videos on the fact that it seems like the Void infiltrated a lot of these Azeroth realms and sort of laid the groundwork for their own incursions into the lands of creation. Now, this brings me to an interesting question. Is Azeroth actually a Titan? Is there any evidence that shows that Azeroth is a Titan? If we go off of the assertions of the Titans, and we go off of what they claim the earliest days of the creation actually looked like, I'm gonna say no. Because I don't think the Titans were honest. You see, I think the Titans saw Azeroth. They saw what Azeroth was, and they made a calculated decision. Their decision was simple. In order to get the universe to trust us, in order to get these beings on Azeroth to trust us, we need to assert, we need to convince them that we are in fact one of them. We are part, or she is one of us. And that's the only way this can work. That's the only way that we can fool them into allowing us full-blown access to their realm. This would also explain why Odin refuses to allow any of the keepers to talk about places like Azeroth Orders. Because he understands, the second the mortals of Azeroth figure out that the Titans actually come from a realm like Azeroth Orders, it wouldn't take long for the mortals of Azeroth to start putting one and one together and going, wait a second, you guys said 1 + 1 = 3, but clearly that's not true. Something is wrong. We've seen how the Eternal Ones were created inside Azeroth Mortis. We know how that creation process takes place. If you have a Azeroth realm, then you must surely be from that exact same realm. Now, that also goes into the Titans' own assertion that Azeroth is the strongest of all of the Titans. This is the strongest Titan that they have ever come across within within the Great Beyond. All of this leads me to believe that the Titans left out a lot more than convenient truths or untruths. Up until now, I've sort of believed that the Titans were pick and choosing very specifically certain truths that they didn't want us to know about because it would complicate things. It would mean that they would have to explain things to mortals that they already don't have a lot of respect for, and why would they waste their time for that? But now I'm starting to feel like there's a lot of evidence that something took place on Azeroth a very, 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 very long time ago that the Titans never even wrote about. Perhaps because the Titans weren't here at the time that these things transpired, or perhaps because the Titans really didn't want us to know that they are, or what they are busy with. That would be my initial assertions. Now, before I log off, I quickly feel like I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't at least cover one last element of what I think our current universe looks like. And this will be the last time that I go over this. I've done this plenty of times in live streams where I've spoken about this because chat constantly asks about this. So hopefully this is the definitive edition and I never have to cover this specific topic again. I can now just point to this video and be like, yep, that's where you can find it. All right. What does the modern World of Warcraft Great Beyond universe system look like? Well, according to the Titans, they and they alone are creating things. And this entire thing is a natural system operated and envisioned by the first ones. We have the realms of death, where mortals go upon their deaths, and now we know where the mortals are farmed for their anima. Then we have the Emerald Dream. This is where life actually comes from within the Great Beyond. Now, the actual creation of these realms, are not explored at all. The Titans basically have 5 different variations of how the Emerald Dream came to be. It may have been Aeonar that created it. It may have been Aeonar with the help of Freya. It may have been Aeonar and Elune. It may actually have been Elune and then Aeonar helped. There's like 5 different ways in which the Emerald Dream, one of them, by the way, includes that the Emerald Dream was just there and they ordered it. The problem, of course, with the Titans is they have the word for ordered and creation is the exact same word. So even if they claim that they created the Emerald Dream, it is completely rational or even understandable for us to say, well, actually, maybe you didn't. Maybe you just ordered the Emerald Dream. But now, the Emerald Dream is where life comes from. Reality, or Azeroth, is where life lives. It's where it exists. Of course, not just on Azeroth. There's life all throughout the Great Beyond. And then all of that life gets ferried into the Shadowlands in order to be farmed for anima. And there's a ton of story there that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But one thing to me, at least, is very clear. The system has been hijacked by the light, by order, and by day. And the system has been hijacked in such a way to exclude the entropy increasing forces from the equation. Life, disorder, and void. And how did they exclude these forces, you may ask? Well, by taking elements of these forces because they are required, but locking the full force out of the system. Aeonar, for example, does not fit with the rest of the Titans. She's not like the rest of the Titans. Why is Aeonar the only Titan that deals with life, and yet the other Titans seemingly have some overlap between them? Maybe because Aeonar isn't of the realms of order. Maybe because Aeonar was bribed or convinced to walk away from the realms of life and join the Titans before the Titans finally locked life away. We already know what life looks like when left unchecked. It's quite dangerous. Disorder have their champion in Denathrius. Coincidentally, by the way, and this will be a speculation theory in the future, but Denathrius is currently the lord of the demons. The demons speak about how they have a new lord. Yeah, that's Denathrius. He's gone back to where he originally came from. That's why Denathrius does not look like the rest of the Eternal Ones. That's why Denathrius looks far more like a Nathrazim. Why his Nathrazim react and act the way that they do. This also explains why Denathrius got into a massive war with the Light and why Maldraxxus and the Primus refused to help Denathrius when the Light finally attacked the Veinfir. It also explains why the Veinfir are the only ones that can't stand the Light, why the Light burns them. Because they are demons. They are of the realms of disorder. They're created by a demon lord, Denathrius. You see, the Titans understood that they can't just exclude all 3 of these powers. That would be very dangerous. You need a little bit of entropy, but not too much. You need a little bit of life, but not too much. Just enough to create life, just enough to create the anima, and then reality will take care of the rest. But you don't need all of these forces. Now you may be saying, but Acheron, what about the void? Where does the void fit into all of this? Well, young Padawan, it doesn't. And I believe the reason it doesn't is the Titans did try. They tried very hard. Those clashes between the light and the void that we hear about earlier, I think that's exactly what transpired there. They were trying to find a champion of the void that would join them in order to balance things out before they locked the void away behind the veil. The issue is the void is so chaotic. The void has so much entropy within it that no champion of the void would ever be able to be contained within such a system. They would simply not work with the rest of the Titans, so that with the rest of the system. And so the Titans made the executive decision to exclude the void wholesale from the entire system. I also believe that if there is a zeroth realm for the void, that Zeroth Realm has mostly been left in disrepair, as the first ones most likely also realized that the void is completely impossible to contain. Now, in the next video, I'm going to talk about Xal'atath. I'm going to talk about Old God Whispers. I'm going to talk about a very ancient war that took place on Azeroth. And it's going to be epic. But ladies and gentlemen, that's enough from me. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Also remember to subscribe over on Patreon. $1 a month keeps this channel free from sponsorships. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be kind to each other, be good to each other. And I'll see all of you in the next one. Peace.